Ready? Look at PowerPoint.
Me?
Sure. Okay. Well, welcome guests and visitors. Do we have any guests or visitors tonight? I don't think so. All right. Welcome to everyone online. So it looks like we got a good crowd. But let's keep on. So I know for socials we have coming up, we have snowshoeing coming up, we have curling coming up, and we also have charcuterie boards coming up, Lunchables for adults. But let's jump to birthdays. No, okay.
So you announced it's online.
Yes. So we have Laura. Hi, Laura. Nathan is there. Amy is there. Could you do a grid version for me? Or scroll? Yeah. Liz. Is that everybody? Sorry, new computer, trying to figure this all out. Alyssa, Phil is on, and Marissa's alter ego is on. So, does that help, secretaries?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Okay, Ryan and Danny, awesome. Nope. All right, so happy birthday, Sarah. We missed you on January 1. Just ranking January 11th. Marissa, Richard, 4 days later, and then Larry Skinson at the end of the month. So, did you do anything nice for your birthday? Do what?
No one else family.
Nice. Excellent. So, Marissa, your birthday party's here, right?
I brought for everybody for dinner birthdays.
All right.
Or
Okay.
my brownies. So we'll take dessert.
All right. Thanks much. Rotary anniversary. Bill is 17 years. Meg has 9 years. So kudos to them as well. Rotary opportunity. Brandon, would you mind telling us a little bit about your recent change in career? So congratulations on that Rotary connection. But why don't you give us a quick 30-second?
Sure. So yeah, a few people have already asked me about it, but I started a new job at the beginning of December last year with Dependable Solutions. We're an IT consulting firm. We provide all types of IT services, and we're trying to figure this out. So Joe Ruski's the owner, and he was our past district governor from, I think, 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I saw Kayla and we were trying to do math a couple days ago, but yeah, so Joe and his wife Tina have traveled around. Tina said she's been to I think 50 of the 62 clubs. So they have a really deep-rooted Rotary belief, and they even include the 4-way test in all of their job descriptions. So they've really embedded Rotary into the business. So it's a really exciting opportunity for me, and I'm happy to have had the opportunity, and I'm fortunate that Rotary was able to bring us together. So Rotary opens opportunities.
You bet. So thank you for sharing, Brandon. So past president, Brandon. I may be hearing more from you in the future here. So we have a new venue. We've been in the search for a venue for a long time. After evaluation, we had the venue committee that was formed. We had a lot of discussions, looked at a lot of venues, as you've seen. For those who have helped us, we visited a lot of different places over the last 6 months, trying to find a new home, or potentially going back to our old home at the Radisson. But with the restaurant industry in turmoil, the costs for a lot of places, even when they were open, was high. So after a lot of deliberation, a lot of discussion, the committee made a proposal to the board. The board approved. So welcome to the Maine, which will be our new home through September of this year. So not to say we're going to go somewhere else, but we're looking to kind of continue the relationship with this location. It's a cool space. Just for the next 6-9 months, then we'll reevaluate if we want to do something different. So, sounds good. Any questions? And for anybody, staff, thank you for sending out the very nice email about the club and the club meeting, and then also highlighting the parking across the way at State Bank. Thanks to Justin Reinking for making that connection. Well, there is another opportunity coming up here. So we're going to open a satellite after hours branch in Denver, Colorado. Mango and I, we're going to be a 2-man band, and we're going to see what we can do out in that neck of the woods. So I'm sad to leave lacrosse. I'm going to continue to lead the board remotely. We'll have past presidents that will lead the meetings. I may occasionally leave back, but not ideal to leave through in the middle of the year, but an opportunity that came up, and it was hard to resist the chance to go to Denver. So I'm going to be here for this meeting and the next meeting, and then I'm going to be moving at the end of January. So just wanted to make everybody aware. It's been great being president of the club and getting to know everybody. Of course, I'm going to join a Rotary Club down there. Everybody got one picked up. They don't know I'm coming. Somebody warned them. Oh, send Dean in advance. He can tell them all about it. So, if anybody's ever in Denver, let me know. Be happy to meet up. And service. Monday meals coming up with Trinity Lutheran and Phil, and then I know we have mobile meals coming at the not mobile meals. February. My
Yes.
bad.
But I just sent out an email yesterday. We're feeding the Boys and Girls Club meal. I previously set that up to new members, so that'll be February 17th. Is that right? February 17th.
Awesome.
So really encouraging new members to join. We already have a big group of people signed up. So
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you both. So, anything else in the works coming that we should be aware of?
here.
Okay, so I have 2 service events coming up in February. So the first one is for abilities and parking through adopted show prior camps. So it's 3 consecutive days in a row, February 15th, 16th, and 17th, from about 3:30 to around 7, probably a little after. Essentially, you're partnered with a performer at the camp that has special needs in middle or high school, and you do the camp with them. You do not need to have singing or dancing experience or ability. That's a huge thing. There's a lot of people that come that don't have the ability, but they're there with the performer, and that is what matters. And then also for New Horizons, we have our first in-person fundraising event. It's February 12th. It's called Gathering Time State Brunch, and we need volunteers for that as well. So she'll send those out this next week. I just told her yesterday.
Awesome. So, and I'm glad you're inclusive of those who can't sing or dance like myself. So,
Absolutely, yes. Fun for everybody.
you bet. It sounds like some great opportunities. That's cool. Thanks for sharing. Service recap. We had a great time down at Rotary Lights. So thanks for everybody who came down and volunteered. It was a little sketchy with the snow, but it turned out to be a great night. No wind, and just watching the snowfall was beautiful. So another great season with Rotary Lights. There were a few bumps in their year. Oh, this was my favorite picture. Luckily, Amy's online, so I can't get glared at right now, which is great. But I mean, that was by far my favorite picture of a service event in a while. So thanks for being a good sport, Amy.
I was a grumpy elf. I'm sorry.
Coming up socials, I already mentioned snowshoeing, curling, and then we've got charcuterie boards coming. So we did snowshoeing last year. We went, I think it's the same place. We go out from Island Outdoors and kind of walk. They have a path set out along the river. It's just kind of a fun event. So hopefully you all can make it out. Just so you are aware, curling and charcuterie are on the same day. You can't see the second one on the boards, but they are on the same day. We had some conflicts, but we figured let's try and do both because there wasn't a lot of ability to move either one. So if they're really popular, we can always do them again in the future. Any other socials or announcements at this point? So let's, is Liz on? Can we hear Liz? She is. Liz, are you, you want to try this and see if we can make this work? Or if is it too
Sure.
quiet?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
So
as the speaker.
Yeah, James, Brandon's on it. Okay, give us a second. But tonight we're gonna talk, we got a lot to cover tonight. So we're gonna talk about sHARk kickoff, and then we're also gonna talk a little bit about district grants and some of the things that the Rotary Foundation can do with our club. So for those of you who have been here, for these kickoffs for 2 years, there's not gonna be a whole lot that's all that different, but it's still a good thing to be a part of. So Liz, you wanna try again?
Sure. Can you hear me all right?
All right, take it away. I'm just gonna click, if you want to do basically the white slides, and then I'll pick up on the colored ones and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. We can move on from this one. So as I am the chair of the district grants subcommittee and wanted to talk a little bit about what the grant subcommittee is looking for in a district grant, just so when we are looking at Shark Tank proposals and voting that we can pick a project that has a really good chance of getting funded. So a couple of things that we're looking for, we want to make sure that projects are meeting the Rotary mission and vision, and the Rotary Foundation mission statement is one thing that we really have to keep in mind, which it helps Rotary members to advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace by improving by improving health, providing quality education, improving the environment, and alleviating poverty. So those are some of the main criteria. And then the Rotary areas of focus, we've talked about these before: peace, fighting disease, clean water, sanitation, hygiene, helping mothers and children, supporting education, growing local economies, and as of recent, protecting the environment. So as we're looking at what we want to do for a project, we're thinking about the district grant requirements. They must support the goals and missions of Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation, of course. We're looking for a good partnership with the community that's benefiting. And some of the main things that we're looking at in Rotarian involvement are an assessment of the community needs, making sure that Rotarians are really involved. We don't want to just write a check or give them money to do the project. We really want to see that Rotarians are involved and that there's a relationship being built there. We want to see Rotarians involved in the planning of the project and helping develop the project so that there is some ownership of Rotary with it, and something that we can really hang our hat on and be proud of. So next slide, please. Regarding community assessments, in my 9-to-5 job, one of the things I do is coordinate the Compass Community Needs Assessment that covers the cross-county as well as several others. This assessment is through a social determinants of health lens, so it's not completely inclusive of all community needs, but it does touch on a lot of the most high-level community needs. The most recent one in 2021 came down with mental health issues being a top need, financial stability, safe, affordable housing, social, economic, and health disparities and equity issues, alcohol and substance abuse, the ability to pay for health care and health insurance, and care for vulnerable populations, physical inactivity, and obesity. So these top needs aren't anything that's really too awful surprising. There are things that the community has been working on for many years, and they're just really big needs and pretty tough to make major headway. But there's a lot that we can do. Go ahead to the next one.
Well, and there's organizations in our community that focus on every one of those needs, right?
Yes, there are organizations that are working on these things. Is that addressed in the next?
Is it? Very well could be. Go ahead, sorry, I'll stop.
So yeah, no, that's okay. So when we think about, you know, what we want to develop for projects, think about a synergy between those community needs and what the Rotary mission and visions are. Think about our club capacity and our interests. You know, we've done some really neat things, and there's a lot of organizations in the community that are working in the field. You know, we need to talk to those people and find out what do they need the most, and also co-create with them. How can we be involved and develop a project together, rather than come right in and say, this is what we want to do for you, because it might not always be the most helpful. So, you know, a couple cool things that have been done. You know, Holman Rotary found out that there were kids that were sleeping on the floor, not getting a great night's sleep, and that was impacting their education. So they literally built beds, provided mattresses, pillows, bedding, so that kiddos could have a better night's sleep. And then there's also organizations that are working abroad that have relationships in other countries with other Rotary clubs, doing wash projects so that people have better clean water for hygiene and sanitation, and building dormitories for kids to be able to attend school. So some of the things that we would love to see is get together with some folks and talk about what you're interested in. Talk with the receiving organizations to develop some goals, define the roles. The budget is a really important piece of any project. We do look for quotes and make sure to include that Rotary recognition is in the budget. Those are some main things in preparation for preparing a grant. So in order to find some local organizations, the government offices, you know, so like Parks and Rec, city government, county government, might be a good resource to pair with, schools, and then of course nonprofits. A good source of information on nonprofits in the area, if you want to look up by a certain service type, is using 211 Wisconsin. So you can put in like hunger organizations or, you know, food pantries and get a whole list of places that are addressing food. Talk to personal contacts. There's a lot of folks in the club that work with organizations, and think about places that we've volunteered, that we've worked with throughout the years as a club, and places that you volunteer for on your own. It's a good time to reach out and find out what's going on and see what their biggest needs are.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you.
Any questions for Liz? Okay, well, thank you, Liz, for walking us through that. Thank you for your service on the District Grants Committee for multiple years now. We appreciate it. Yeah, but, you know, just to the group, just because you don't know, you know, where to start, don't let that be a barrier. There's lots of people who can help guide and point you in the right direction if you're interested in making a difference. So welcome to sHARk Tank Kickoff 2022. So we're just going to walk through some of the rules. You might recognize a few faces up there. Thank you, Marissa, for all your efforts in photoshopping. So I think you do. I mean, there's a couple of those. I mean, Bill's looking awfully young in the picture. I think it's a little about there. So is Bill on tonight? I don't think so. No, it's not much fun when I can't make fun of it. So what is sHARk Tank? We've raised money this year. We've continue to raise money for Ugly Sweater. We had a record year this year. We want to make that impact locally and globally, and we want to find that project and utilize the matching funds from the Rotary Foundation, right? We give to the Rotary Foundation. I'm probably getting ahead of myself here, but we give to the Rotary Foundation. We want to bring that money back and basically double our impact. So pretty cool thing that we can do. So in the past, some of our Shark Tank winners, the Good Fight, Amy was online, but you might recognize a few faces, purchased that beautiful red van. And it's a pretty cool thing. I've seen it driving around the cross a couple times, and it's always really cool to see the Rotary After Hours logo on the side. And you're like, yeah, we did that. And those kids, it makes a big difference to those kids. Some other projects that we've done in the past, Razia's Bus. We've done the Guatemala Women's Health Clinic. We've done Hickson Forest, trail signage, and other pieces. We've done the Mexico Clean Water. We've also done the Uganda classroom. So a nice mix of both international and local. And I hope to see that list continue to grow as we continue to evolve and grow our impacts. So the Nicaragua Global Grant, we raised $51,000 for training and screening of cervical cancer. So starting now, we ask, seek out, start talking to organizations, start seeking out projects that you think we could help, that you could make a pitch to the club to help support. So finding a partner, building a team. You can go at it alone, but I think it's a lot more fun when you have 2 or 3 other Rotarians working with you. It makes the load lighter. You can have more fun with it. There's good to have ideas bouncing back and forth. But the end goal would be to pitch your project to the sHARks, this group, on April 26th. So we've got some time between now and then to have some conversations, make a pitch, get the details, get your quotes, all that stuff that Liz was talking about. So as I said before, the club will contribute $5,000. The Rotary Foundation will contribute another $5,000. You have to raise exactly $0 to make a $10,000 impact. So what the heck's a district grant? Basically, they are smaller grants, right? Global grants are the big ones that take place with international partners. District grants are the smaller pieces that can happen locally or internationally. But they are a powerful tool to leverage the Rotary Foundation. If anybody remembers my sad, snarky shark pictures. So Liz already talked about some of the things, planting trees, doing wells, playgrounds and parks, dormitory buildings, tiny homes, beds. There's a lot of really cool projects that have been done throughout our district and throughout the world. If you want more examples, please let us know. I got a list of, I think I sent it to you here. I got a list of 200 projects long. So there's a lot of different ideas that people have found over the years. A couple of key pieces that come with this. Rotarian involvement, right? We want there to be Rotarian involvement with the club, right? We want to be able to have a longer term relationship, right? We've done some good fight nights. We want to have a service event or be involved with this rather than just writing a check and kind of, waving, see you later. We want to make sure that the club is eligible, which we shouldn't have a problem for our club being eligible for the $100 per average. And a couple other pieces, somebody going to a grant management seminar, et cetera, et cetera. We haven't had problems with eligibility for many years, and I don't expect we'll have any problems now. Rotarian involvement. Honestly, that's how the district, when they run short on funds versus requests, that's when they start looking at Rotarian involvement and saying, hey, who's got the most involvement? How does this kind of continue beyond just writing a check? So that's why we continue to hit on that one. We want to do eligible activities. We cannot do operating costs. We cannot write a check to another organization to pay someone's salary. We cannot do, hey, we need more paper towels and food for the food shelf, right? Great causes, but we cannot write a check for those kind of day-to-day operating costs. It has to be more project-based. Yes.
Liz brought up that they do have to be completed by, or for the district grants, completed by May 15th.
Yes, they need to be completed by May 15th. So in this case, we would, if we got, I think I have a slide on this. Liz, let's hang tight and we'll come back to that. I'm pretty sure I have a slide later on. And then we need to keep receipts. So just like everything else in the world, when you're dealing with large organizations, right, we want to be good stewards of the money that we are given by the Rotary Foundation, because we want to be confident the money is being used correctly when we give to the foundation. So we do need to keep receipts so that we can justify where the money is spent. Unfortunately, to buy brand new suits with that's a sharp looking suit. So I hope you get a clothing allowance with the new job.
Unfortunately, no.
Well, you should have asked Joe. You should have.
I should have negotiated better.
You should have. You should have. So Bill knows a suit guy. Couple additional rules. Presenters are only going to have 5 to 6 minutes, and we will cut you off if you're presenting and you run over. We'll give you a warning, but we will cut you off this coming year. We will vote via sHARk bucks. So I don't think we've decided, but the theory behind it, everybody will get 100 sHARk bucks. So if you really believe in, Morgan's project, you can put all 100 sHARk bucks on Morgan's project. But if you're like, hey, I really like Morgan's project, and I also like Steph's project, I can split it 50-50, 25-75, right? You can do different weights of your projects, and then the winner will be the one that gets the most sHARk bucks. Trust me, I learned a lot about voting methodology last year, probably more than I ever need to know. But as Liz had said, it must be completed and operating within the year. So it'll have to be completed by May 15th of 2023. So unfortunately, we can't stretch on for like a 3 to 5 year project, et cetera, et cetera. Key questions that we'll be asking, what is the total cost? What is the timeline? Any risks or contingencies with the project. So we just want to be aware of that and make sure that we're kind of going into things eyes wide open. Members involved, like who's your team, and then specific Rotarian involvement. What's the last?
Activities.
Activities. Thank you. Should have wrote not white.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, thank you. Any questions so far? April 26th, we'll do the pitch. So that'll be the meeting. We'll have people come up. They'll have their 5 to 6 minutes. They'll tell us about their project. They'll tell us what it means, why it's important, why you should vote for it. And we'll have a little bit of time for question and answer. And then we will do, we'll do a survey monkey vote to see who the winner is. So we'll get announced soon after that. And then we talked a little bit about that. That timeline is still coming. So a Rotarian must pitch the project. No bringing in ringers. You can't have somebody who's going to come in, the director of this or the director of that, the mayor. You can't have somebody, you can't have the mayor of lacrosse come in and pitch your project for you. It has to be Rotarians being involved. You can have them here to answer questions, but feel free to invite them, but it has to be something that our club is being pitched by our Rotarians. We talked about Rotarian involvement. We've hit on that a few times. Must start after July 1st, finish before May 15th. This is the 3rd year we've done this. I think we've learned a lot in the first 2 years, but again, things may change. We're continuing to evolve, but again, I think it's a pretty good program, because what we don't want to do is we don't want the board to be like, hey, we like this. We're going to put $5,000 or $10,000 towards it. We want this to be something that the entire club gets a voice, that we, talk to everyone. And we want this to be something that is consistent year after year. So even if, hey, I got this great project, Morgan's, Society for, small children who can't read well, or whatever that old Zoolander thing is, or don't. If you got that, right, and you don't get it the first year, we're going to do it again, right? It's not to say just because you didn't win 1 year, doesn't mean you can't come back. So there's the dates. So basically between now and April 15th, we'll ask you to identify planned projects, kind of come up with your pitch, build your teams, all that stuff to figure out what you want to do. Come April 26th, we'll present. We're going to ask you to submit we're going to ask you to submit a PowerPoint, some of those details before the meeting, just so we can ask questions and understand and make sure that there's no, gaps or concerns going in. District grant reviews are May 22nd, so we'll get the news back soon after that, probably sometime early June, from Liz and her committee at the district. And from there, we get to go do good in the world. Everybody's fantastic here. You all are great. Thanks for being here today. Why can't we do everyone's project? So unfortunately, there's a lot of good to be done. There's a lot of good orgs. There's a lot of passion. So we can't do everyone's project. But like I said, we'd love to just do great project after great project after great project each year. So we want to hear from you. We want to do good. So let's go make an impact. Yeah. let us know if you come up with an idea, if you have a project, if you're like, hey, I'd like to just ask some questions I want to understand, right? Reach out to me, reach out, we've got Melissa, Ashley, basically anybody, Liz, we're happy to help. So just let us know. We're working to train Sierra up. So she was kind enough to volunteer to be a foundation committee co-chair. So thank you for that. So we're working to train Sierra up. So she'll be an expert in like 3 more weeks. Right? Yeah. Okay. So then I'll just press the forward button and it'll just go straight to you. So, next meet, any other questions on Shark Tank? I know
I have a question.
That wasn't Amy, was it? Amy,
Hi,
you don't get any
Josh.
questions.
I have a question. I think it's great, the Shark Tank projects and how we're getting things out, making a difference in the community. Is there any concern at all that their criteria could be too limiting? Because I just know that the district grant criteria is very specific and the community needs are also pretty specific, and partnering with an already existing nonprofit doing some of that work, I think it's going to be hard to hit all 3 of those targets to find the right match. I don't think it's impossible, but I think it can be a challenge sometimes to get all of those elements to line up. Is there any thought from the board that you're going to prioritize projects for those that obviously hit all of those to the best of their ability with more priority, but then kind of work your way down so that we're not limiting it too much? I guess I just wonder if that's been part of the conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very valid question, Mandy. Part of this gets into, we built this around the district grant rules primarily. So if we start to go outside of those, then it changes from a $10,000 number to a $5,000 number, which can have a significant impact on what is, what's doable. Especially, the van would be a great example. So we haven't discussed too deeply about what happens in that case. I think we could open the conversation. So far, we haven't had issues with getting projects. Last year, I think we had 4 pitches. 5. We had 5 pitches, and the first year we had 3. So, I think it's valid and something we need to think about. But at this point, so far, we haven't had issues with getting projects. I mean, the project you had pitched last year with the prenatal or the natal cams, I thought that was a really cool project too with Gunderson. So.
Well, I guess thinking about that in mind, it doesn't meet the district criteria. And so that's my only concern, is when I'm trying to brainstorm projects to maybe present for consideration. That's just one of the things that's in my mind, that for those local nonprofits that might be doing some great work already, who just need support and partnership with funding, and yes, maybe involvement, but it's different than if it's a Rotary project that one of our, like the water project that you brought forward, Josh, where that's a club project that wouldn't happen if our club didn't do it. It's not as though another nonprofit was doing that and we were just partnering with some funding. And so that's where my mind goes, thinking about our local nonprofit groups and the work that they might be doing, that again, finding that sweet spot might inhibit some people from pitching if it doesn't hit all of those pieces. But if we can get those projects, I think, yes, let's look at those. I just wondered if there was kind of a thought to welcoming more projects and vetting them based off of the criteria and moving the ones forward that might hit all those boxes.
Josh, can I say something?
Sure.
So with the Good Fight, like, we haven't had as much involvement as I would have liked with due to COVID stuff, but I could talk to Caitlin about trying to get that involved. But even if it's not like, so like as a club, we didn't get involved like buying the van, but that opens a door that we can get involved in other ways with the club. So like coming from the social work world, there's a lot of nonprofits that like, if we do a project with the money, that doesn't mean we have to like just participate for that project. We can just get involved in other ways as well with the agency. You know, we have a lot of small nonprofits in the area that, yeah, the money could help, but they also probably have a lot of other projects we can also work on. Like, so I think even just reaching out to those agencies, they have a lot of ideas they can give to you about what, because we don't know what they're doing, and they could be getting some type of donations other ways. So no, they don't want a certain project, but they can tell you definitely what they need. Because when I went to the Good Fight, I said, what do you need? And we had a long conversation, and they were like doing bookshelves and reading. And we're like, oh, we could do something like that. He's like, actually, our highest need is transportation. So they can identify what they need.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I mean, and thank you, Mandy. I mean, Mandy, the camera thing, I think fully qualified from my perspective last year. So yeah, we may not have been able to volunteer on the board, but we can still volunteer with Gunderson and do some good work and kind of understand the good that's being done, right?
That caveat helps. That's a great point to make. So that's helpful.
Yeah. And I mean, Mandy, if you or anybody has something, you're just like, I don't know if this would really qualify, like definitely reach out. And I think
That's what I was going to say. The lesson learned from last year is I probably should have contacted Liz and Josh earlier with the idea to help. And you can take a kernel of an idea and you can fit it into those criteria so that it meets all three of those aspects. So what you have in mind, or what the organization has identified as a need, might not work straight out of the gate, but it might be able to be massaged into something that does meet the criteria and still also achieves the essence of what you're looking for. So I would say if you have an idea, connect with the organization, get an idea, a rough idea, and then talk to our grant writing experts to help flush out the budget and all that stuff. And then keep the conversation open with the organization in order to make sure that any changes that were made to meet the grant criteria still meets the organization's needs. And then that would be a good final project pitch.
And Brandon, you make a great point, and I think everybody agrees that the solar panel project that you pitched last year was a great project. And as far as I know, it's still, Mario is still kind of fighting the fight on permitting and zoning and things like that. So when the day comes, I mean, you're still approved. So I'm still planning that we'll make a district grant application for it when the day comes, because that was what the club approved for, unless it, if all of a sudden the whole thing just kind of falls apart, like we'll go in a different direction. But I think it's a great thing. The timing just wasn't quite right because it's just taking a lot longer on all that regulation stuff. So we can find a way to make things work. So
yeah, and so I just think that Liz and Josh have been through the grant approval process. So they've seen a good grant request versus a bad grant request, and it's not necessarily the idea or the organization behind it. It's often gets into the minutia of it fitting into that criteria, because we need to be good stewards of the funds. So it does have to meet that criteria, and we've got experts at our disposal.
yeah,
So to speak.
yeah. So great point. And Mandy, I mean, happy to have a deeper conversation, Mandy, because I feel like maybe we should meet and have a cup of coffee or something sometime, and we can dig deeper to talk about it and maybe work some adjustments in next year's process. Morgan.
Liz did bring up another question too. Would we potentially consider submitting proposals for like 2 smaller projects?
We could. I'm not necessarily opposed to that. We're continuing to learn and evolve. So I think that just similar to what Brandon said, if you've got ideas, come chat with us and let's see. I just hesitate to kind of go into the minutia of bureaucracy of how to make various things work. Because you guys just love to stay here all night and listen to me talk about red tape, right? So I know the accountants would, right? Yeah. So any other questions? So thank you for everybody who asked questions and shared. It's a good thing, and I think Mandy, again, thank you for the feedback. We're continuing to evolve, and I'm just excited that we're able to put things on the calendar and do some projects every year, because otherwise it just kind of, we were waiting for somebody to show up with a passion, and, you know, sometimes that was once a year, sometimes that was once in, 3 years, so. Upcoming meeting. Upcoming meeting, our next meeting at the end of the month is going to be our youth exchange update. So as far as I'm aware, we're gonna have everybody online except for Hagen. Hagen is not responding to us. Apparently he's having an Austrian good time. I don't know. Well, he might be in the military too, isn't he? Because don't they have mandatory military service? So he might be like deployed, crawling through the snow somewhere. Yeah, so we should have everybody. Hopefully you guys can make it. They'll be on Zoom, but we're planning to have it in person. We'll continue to monitor Omicron and things like that, but we'll have an in-person meeting is the plan. I'll be sending out a note. What I would ask, I'll put a couple examples, but it'd be really nice if the club, you guys could come up with a question or two to ask the kids, because, I think in Eugene, it's like 1 in the morning or something. Like they're on opposite ends of the world, so they're taking time out of their schedule to, in like middle of the night, to be here with us. So it's just, I'm gonna plan to facilitate, but it also, I mean, these are kids, right? They're now 18, 19 years old. To have me just talk at them, they're like, okay, but to have all you guys here, like asking questions, and they see that you guys care about their lives and what they're up to. I mean, that's pretty cool. How often, like when you were 17, if you got on the phone with like this group of like 30 or 40 people, and they were just like, tell me all about your life, we miss you so much. I think that'd be a pretty cool experience, and they'll keep coming back as long as we engage with them. So that's my heartfelt ask to everybody in the room and online. If you could come up with one question, I think that would be awesome, and I think they would just love it.
Tell us who those 4 are.
Yes, so we have Eugene, who was from Taiwan. He was our first exchange student. His first family was Danny and Eric Rathke, who taught him how to do things such as laundry and the dishes. His second host family, right here, didn't kill him. He didn't kill me. And then his third host family was a outside family, outside the club, I think, wasn't it? I think so. I think it was outside the club. And then we had Clara, who was our next one, who was from Italy. She was a sweetheart. So she was the angel of the group. We have they're all good, but then you got these 3 troublemaking boys, and you have Clara, who's just a little angel. So don't tell her I said that. So who is she with for families? Does anybody remember? I'm trying, that's a ways back. Okay.
Josh, what are you asking? I probably know all the answers.
Who was Clara's host family in Rotary? Were there any Rotarian families?
She lived with the Candace Clouch from, she went to West Salem High School, or lived over in the West Salem area.
Yep.
She lived with the people who worked with Lisa in Onalaska, the Wilsons, and then the Clouch family from the downtown club.
Okay.
And
All right.
Eugene's third family was the Stadolas.
The Stadolas. Thank you. That's right. Thank you. All right. So then go for Mickey.
Mickey lived with Danny and Eric. And then he lived with Michael Garcia for a little while. And then he lived with the Stutzmans, but then he finished back up with Danny and Eric again.
And he was from Poland.
Poland, yep.
So, yep. And then Hagen was Brandon and Allison. And was it the Skensdals, Larry and Missy Skensdal? And who was the third one?
He lived with Ethan's family as well.
Okay. Yep. So, and he was from Austria. So, yeah. So,
Josh, sorry, or Laura, when the youth exchange students come over, can you tell us a little bit about how long they're here and what they're like? We'll hear more next meeting, but what's the Rotary Youth Exchange program all about?
Yeah, Laura, go for it.
Can you repeat the question? Marissa's a little far away from the microphone.
What is the Rotary Youth Exchange Program all about? And can you tell us a little bit about the timeline of when they're here for the folks who haven't been around since we've had Youth Exchange missing for 2 years?
Sure, absolutely. So there are two different youth exchange programs for Rotary. One of them being a long-term program, which is the program that we've participated in since my year as president in 2015. What happens is the student comes over in early August, and they're here typically until early to mid-July of the following year. They are not in an academic exchange. However, it is strongly encouraged that they regularly participate and do well in their classes as they're in school, so they're not a distraction to other students. And basically, they are a secondary member of our Rotary Club. So we try to engage them in service activities, in socials where appropriate. Obviously, if we're in bars, students are not able to come with us there. So we do our best to make sure that there's activities available. And then the district also provides activities for them to participate in. They go to a training in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They have opportunities for trips around the United States, and they can go to an East Coast or a West Coast trip. But basically, it gives them an opportunity to just embrace the new culture. They have 3 different host families typically that they live with, so they get to learn a little bit about how different families interact. Different culture or religions that are happening that are different from their own. And then within our club, Lisa acts as their youth exchange officer. So she's the person who's legally responsible for this 18-year-old, 17-year-old while they're here. And then myself and a few other members of the club have been youth exchange counselors over the years. And basically we act as a liaison or a go-to for that person, that exchange student to just connect with. And then Ashley is our youth protection officer. So she makes sure that we pass all of our trainings and we're doing all the right things as far as all the laws kind of go as well. The short-term exchange is 3 weeks long. It's a like for like exchange. There's far less Rotary Club involvement in that one. So if you have a high school student who's interested in doing a shorter exchange, basically, if I wanted to go, I find somebody, I go live with Eugene's family for 3 weeks, and then Eugene comes back and lives with my family for 3 weeks. So similarly to the long-term exchange, you go and you embrace the culture, but it's a much shorter exchange. And we do have a couple students that are interested in that this year. At this point in time, exchange is planned for the upcoming year. Rotary has not canceled it. And the Rotary International and Central States Rotary Youth Exchange have started assigning clubs. So Lisa and I are just waiting to hear if we're going to get a student this year, because numbers are significantly down due to COVID. That was a lot of talking.
That was a lot of talking. Do you want, for those who don't know, would you mind explaining briefly explaining what all the pins on the jackets represent?
Yeah, so those pins basically are like their souvenirs while they're here. So they exchange pins, they like buttons. There's all sorts of random stuff that they attach to those blazers. I've seen kids hanging them on hangers and the plastic hangers break because they're so stinking heavy from all the buttons and all the pins that they collect. But it's just basically like a wearable scrapbook for them for the different things that they've experienced and the different students that they've interacted with. And just a really nice memory for them. And as you can see, some people participate more than others in decorating their pins.
Excellent. Thank you, Laura, and thank you for your service as district youth chair. So, if anybody's ever interested in kind of getting involved with Rotary, at a higher level, our club is often overrepresented at the district level. So they pull a lot of people from the energy and the ideas and good things that happen here. I mean, Justin's held a number of roles at the district. Am I allowed to? No, she's not listening, so I'm going to share. So you're looking at the upcoming district director things. So, so how many years do you have left, Laura, on your term? Just one or two?
Technically the rest of this year and then next year.
Okay. So,
Halfway
yeah, so Rotary's got a lot of opportunities. We've got different people who've been involved in a lot of different things. So hopefully more exciting things to come. So any other questions, concerns, announcements before we call it quits? I'm so proud. We're gonna finish on time.
Still left over, so Sierra, I think you're gonna take some, but if anybody else wants to take some, please take it. Because it's and dessert.
Yep. Anything else? Otherwise, okay. We will do the 5-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will be beneficial to all concerned? Does work have will it be fun at the end?
No, but it's an updated core values.
Okay, good.
Bring it up.
We should bring it up.
So, well, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. As Marissa said, take some pizza, take some snacks. Stay warm out there, watch out for COVID, and stay healthy, be well. It's great to see you, and see you again in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody online. Mandy, if you want to chat further, toss me a note.